Healthcare and government are adopting these tools to protect sensitive data. Enhancing cybersecurity. As cyber attacks grow more sophisticated, cybersecurity technologies are evolving to defend against them. AI-driven threat detection systems, zero-trust architectures, and advanced encryption methods are becoming the new norm. However, keeping up with rapidly evolving threats is a challenge, especially for industries that handle sensitive data like finance and healthcare. The cybersecurity market is expected to reach $248.26 billion by 2024. But the constant need for innovation and adaptation means businesses need to stay vigilant.
About taking action, and that is one of the things that we love to see. Environmental education is a whole lot when it comes to environmental education. Is a whole lot when it comes to our environment today, and our communities. We need to learn how to take more responsible action. I mean, the likes of Professor Wagamari Mataya, who, was able to plant a number of trees thinking of our environment. And one interesting thing, again, about climate change is the fact that it mostly affects the women and also the girls in the environment. I mean, because they are usually most vulnerable to all of these things, especially when it's time of flooding, the times of fire outbreaks in some place. All of these things are usually felt, the impact of climate is usually felt differently on women, and that's why interestingly, it's women that are taking even more action. Okay, good morning to you, Angela. Can you hear me? What we want to achieve because what we want to achieve because when you grow in something, it is easier to adopt it. It's easier to be that thing. And so it's more about exposing the young ones. It's more about exposing students to environmental learning at the moment so that when they grow, they won't depart from it. Good morning to you, Angela. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
Yes. Okay, let's go straight into the heart of the conversation. So what exactly does environmental education mean to you personally?
To me, environmental education is deeper than it looks, right? It is the ability to empower not just the older generation, but now the younger ones with the abilities, skills, and knowledge needed to fight climate crisis, right? And not just, having the knowledge, but also putting it into practice. It is one thing to be informed, and it's another thing to take action. So both of them comes in play. You can't take action on something that you do not understand. So first, I'm bridging the gap between knowledge and action. So you must be fully informed before you can take full action. So that's pretty much environmental education really means to me. And to know the fact that we're bridging and we're raising the next generation of global sustainable environmental leaders is really important to me.
I mean, in your work, yeah, your day-to-day work is more about raising the young ones and also securing our future. So, how have you seen environmental education actually help these two young ones take actions? And if you can see an example of where environmental learning has actually made a real difference in probably a community or a school where you've had one of your outreaches.
For me, this is really important because it's dear to my heart. It is very important because I like to see the fruit of my labor, right? I really like to see that things that I have planted are starting to grow. So for me, through my organization, Climate.org, we run a climate club at University of Lagos Staff School for primary school children. And at the beginning of the entire club, we had over 200 children registered to be a member of the club. But I am over quality than quantity. Having that large amount of children sometimes can be very difficult to, impact knowledge and for you to see the core essence of what you've taught in these children. So what I did was that I broke them down into cohorts, taking in at least 30 to 20 to 30 children every session to teach them. So at the first year, every year we have our graduation session. So the club runs through every Thursday throughout the academic calendar. And we teach them with practical tools, experiment, fun, storytelling, just fun ways to engage these children so that it sticks to them. We change their cultural orientation on what climate change actually means, bringing it down to how it affects us in Nigeria and what they can see with their community. And with that, I've seen them, on their own, even try to get their peers to join the club. That's advocate.
I can go on with what you're saying.
Okay, so what I was saying is that over our first cohort, I've seen children even on their own organize cleanup campaigns in their school. They even started to advocate for proper waste management from the school authorities. That's
Interesting.
how I have seen of a progress in them. And for us at the Climate Club, we created comic characters where children can start to tell their own climate stories and telling it from their own perspective. How much to, it is good to grab children at the core of what is their interest. And that's what we did. And we could see progress from it. Children now start to write, and you get to see how they truly understand what climate change is through their own writing. And this writing is in the verge of being published. So it gives them excitement to know that, yes, this is the little way they can also advocate and spread the good news of climate education.
Okay, now let's come out of the school setting a bit, because environmental education isn't just to be taught in the schools. What about communities where the schools are located? Are there any actions you're taking around there? And also, how is it like? What are those challenges that you're facing in promoting environmental education in the community? And also, how are you able to overcome some of them?
Okay, I'll start by saying the challenges that we've had. Before the Climate Club came in play, we always had this one-off campaigns where we visit numerous schools, teaching them about climate education. But we noticed that after these children leave the school, they go back into their communities where it is a whole lot,
Yeah.
right? So we have what we call cleanup campaigns, where we bring together youths in different communities, from different communities. After we clean up, we sensitize them. So they all go back to their various communities to also take up the good works. And while we're in those communities to clean up, we do area sensitization. And aside from that, we try to, bring together not just children, but their parents. So whenever we do something in the club, we send videos, we send texts to their parents' group chats, so that at least their parents are also informed about the situation at hand. The problem that we're currently facing is bad cultural orientation, right? A lot of Nigerians and a lot of adults you even see educated adults that are ignorant. They're ignorant to say that climate education or climate action is a white man's problem. And that's where the entire problem is from. When the bad cultural orientation sticks to even a grown adult, it is hard for us to bridge that gap to say, no, this is climate change is here and now. And how we've been able to gradually come to solve that problem is us moving into the community, right? We show even adults that this problem is not a white man's problem, right? We don't use melting iceberg as a verge of teaching them about climate education. We tend to use what is within our environment. We use the Niger Delta, we use the rising temperatures in our environment, and even tell them that climate education has become, climate crisis has become an humanitarian problem. Now relating it to environmental pollution, how they manage their waste, and all just things that they can relate to. You can't use situations that are foreign to teach them about climate change. So I started to use what is within their environment to bridge that gap of climate education even in our local communities. And have I seen that turn into a positive change? Little. So it is about getting, I always say that I am over quality over quantity. It's the quality of an individual. So even if it is one person or just one individual that has changed, I can see that, okay, over time, we'll start to have more and more and more and more. So it is a gradual process.
Okay, interesting. It's a gradual process. Hopefully, you're able to go through it gradually. But I do understand that you also have some works around curriculum developments for climate education. and also environmental education. How is that like? Could you just walk us through that and also help us understand the landscape? Is it just for, do you just design curriculums for the young ones or also for adults as well? Because like I said earlier on, and also you've also confirmed that environmental education shouldn't just be for children. It should be for both adults and also children. Everyone should be involved. And the goal is to leave no one behind, according to the UN. So what exactly are you doing with curriculum, and what is it like here in Nigeria and also Africa?
Um, Curriculum development for me is the core of what we do. So we have to have a structure in which we pass across this information detailedly with the right data and everything intact, tailored to the particular individual or groups of individuals that we're about to teach. So aside from being the founder of Climate.org, I work for an international organization called the Climate Education Coalition that has over 180 members of different organizations around the world. And all we do is come together to talk about climate education, advocating for climate curriculum to be included in the national curriculum of every country around the world. And in that space, I look at how different organizations bring their curriculum together, tailored to the needs of each of their country. And that's what I've done. I have developed several curriculums tailored to either children, young adults, or even adults this time. But these curriculum are always, tailored to the needs of these individuals. For example, the children in the club, we teach them the basics of what climate change is, tailored to their knowledge, right? Where they are at, their age range, their age
Yeah.
group. We use them to teach them about climate change. And that's how we develop the curriculum, tailored to them. So I can use that curriculum that I use in my club to teach any children anywhere around Nigeria, right? And Africa as well, because I don't just teach them about climate change relating to Nigeria. I teach them relating to the world entirely because they are going out there not just as Nigerians, but to also represent the world. We're raising global leaders and all-round leaders. So this curriculum, in as much as it raises children to understand what climate change is in Nigeria, they are also prepared for what's around the world. And aside from children, I currently developed a curriculum for an adult, right? A young adult that is into climate education for adults, right? And what was into that curriculum was a more advanced, right? A more advanced level that I know that even an adult can, understand both the concepts of climate education or climate change, but the misconceptions as well. Because there's a lot of miscommunication or bad information out there about climate change that are not true. So, in as much as we're teaching people or individuals about climate change, we are also trying to bridge the gap of misinformation. So yes, that's what I do regarding
Like
climate
I mean,
curriculum.
because when it comes to climate change, there's usually a lot of grammar. So for me, when I first came across your work, what came to my mind is how you're able to explain what's like mitigate, climate adaptation, what's it called, carbon neutrality to all of these children. How exactly are they able to understand? But I guess you've broken it down that it does meet them where they are exactly. But now let's take a step forward again and talk about the role of government and also policymakers in playing a very serious role in environmental education. What role do you see them playing to strengthen the whole force and also the whole advocacy around environmental education? And also, how can stakeholders in education, talking about parents, teachers, school owners, support this course even beyond the classroom?
Let's first start with government's role in all of this. They have the highest and the central role of whatever we do because they are at the core of what children are meant to learn. So, in as much as I do my part, or several other climate education advocates out there do their parts, the government is still at the center of making this a policy. So one of my goals in the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years, is to make sure that not just the Nigerian government, but several countries start to include mandatory climate education in each of their national curriculum. And so far, through the Climate Education Coalition, I've been able to achieve that in 11 countries. And Nigeria, our national, you know, our government is really one that is hard to get to, right? Currently they released the NDC's national determinants contribution towards climate education to the UN, and they promised us the inclusion of climate education in our national curriculum. I hope that they are able to own up to their words, because it's one thing to have policy and it's another thing to implement this policy. I hope that they are able to come down to partner with not just private institutions, but also NGOs, also teachers. It is the government that has the responsibility to collaborate to teach and train teachers to be able to deliver this climate education at its core and at the level at which it is meant to be taught. The government also has the sole responsibility to fund climate finance, climate education, because we need to have quality, not just climate education this time, quality and at its peak, right? As a child growing up, I struggled so much to finding quality climate, not just quality climate education, but quality education at that, right? So having a new concept entirely. Imagine me as a child struggling to have quality education, now bringing in a foreign and a deep concept as strong as climate education. Teachers need to be trained, and not just trained, but also financed, right? That's what I believe should be the responsibility of the government, right? Coming down to engaging stakeholders, parents, and driving community as well. I have three core beliefs, right? Creativity, collaboration, and commitment. They are very strong in the sense that climate education is relatively new, right, to this aspect of the world. So you have to be creative. You have to know how to bring in not just children, not just young adults, but parents, because they've grown over years not understanding what this is. That's what I said. That's what I talked about when I said bad cultural orientation, right? And we need to come down to the level of using what, meeting them where they are at. That's basically it. Meeting where stakeholders where they are at, and making sure that climate education is beyond the walls of the classroom. When children go home, they are going home to meet their parents. They are going home into the community. So if we teach them, oh, be clean, make sure that you manage your waste properly, reduce, reuse, and recycle, and they go out to the world and they are not seeing these things, it's actually, it draws us back. So what we do is, in as much as we, involve the children, we involve the school management, so that when we leave these schools, the school can also take up what we've taught these children, include it in not just the children that are in the club, but other children as well, and also their parents. So when you have PTA meetings, we are there. We are there to say that this is what we teach the children. We are there to say that parents, we really need you, because your children, no parent wants to teach their children behind. So parents are also very engaged. They want to see their children thrive. When we use stories of other climate heroes out there globally, we show them what they are doing out there. They want to see their children be in those positions. And what is good to know that Nigerian parents always want to see their children on the global stage, and
Exactly.
that's where we hook them as well.
Okay, that's actually wonderful. I guess you've broken down, and it's been a lovely conversation so far. I wish you had so much of time with us. But just on a final note now, what message will you give to young people who want to be part of climate change, environmental change? What is that? What was that thing? What's that one thing that you just tell them? Okay, just do this. You should do this. What role can they play as well?
I would say the advice that I gave myself when I was 17 and I was about to start. I told myself that I would start with whatever that I had, whatever knowledge that I had, I would start. I would make mistakes, but I would learn from those mistakes. And that's one advice that I would give every young individual that is out there that is open and willing to start this journey. You don't need to have it all figured out. I know that this sounds really cliche, but that's just the honest truth. You need to start where you're at. And if you cannot even start your own non-profit organization, volunteer. Volunteering is very, very important, right? Volunteer. When you volunteer, you learn. You learn a lot of things. Start with the resources that you have in your community, in your household. I I have friends that I teach about climate education. They know me. You can't be my friend and not understand the work that I do. Not just understand, but also spread the gospel. So it starts from your inner circle. Look around you. What have you been able to achieve? Have you been able to influence your peers? Have you been able to influence your community? Start from where you are at. Start with the resources that you have. Look out for opportunities. Search the internet. The internet is our friend. We're living in a time and age where the internet has become really, really accessible. So
Exactly.
look to the internet for what you can do. That's my advice.
Okay, thank you very much for joining, Angela. We really love what you're doing, and we hope that you continue and also not stop what you're doing and keep empowering young ones to be climate change advocates. Thank you very much for joining. And happy International
Thank
Girl
you.
Child's Day to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I guess that's how I will call it a wrap here on EcoView today. So as parents, teach your children the value of reducing waste, and also as teachers, integrate environmental lessons into your curriculum, and also as citizens, support initiatives that protect our environment. Because when we educate, we are empowered, and when we are empowered, we create a future where both people and planet can thrive. My name is Paul Olatupo, and this has been EcoView. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, education is the seed of change. Let's plant it today for a greener tomorrow.
Touch of creativity to the world of technology.
Grow more sophisticated, communicate in real time. Especially
Volunteering with groups.
Make things that really exist in the market.
Also, you are